Morning, everyone. I meant to get this up earlier, but yeah, shooting for continuity. Anyway, please excuse the super flattering angle. I'm trying not to have anything identifying my background because I'm one of those paranoid old people on the internet. And I also try not to wobble my table super much. Dan was nice enough to screw some of the screws back in, but it's a mid-century modern that, yeah, if I leave my elbows on it wrong, it shakes. But yeah, finally just did the comparison between the camera and the work built-in camera on the laptop, and for whatever reason, that one stinks worse than this one. But we're hoping to get new cameras soon because I told Dan I would between the two trips, which gives me next week to get that sorted. As much as I don't want to do phone, I don't want to learn things, and I got a lot of stuff saved on this one. That makes me worry about having to do another one. Just let me have my old things. Anyway, ELUNA Days 2 and 3 and coming home, and yeah, last week was fun. Alright, so day 2 I did that other recording you watched, and that actually made me have to charge the battery for the phone, so I ended up being late and missing the first session that I was supposed to go to, but that's okay because I was like, I just need to be there for the one I need to moderate because, it was in the big room. I knew that one was going to be in the big room because it's the Primo Working Group session. So that went okay. I didn't get a lot of notes taken down, but there wasn't a whole bunch to absorb, but it was good to finally meet Anne in person. I had fun running the mic. Probably too much fun, but hey. It's good. It's good. It gives me something to do. And like I told Matt once I finally found him after this session, signing up to moderate forces me to actually go and not subject or fall subject to my whim of just wandering off and playing hooky and looking in very interesting architectural buildings. So yeah, it's like this will get you up in there by 10 a.m. whether or not you necessarily are feeling it. And this will ensure that you stay there hopefully for the whole day because I had one in the afternoon. Well, anyway, we'll come to that in a second. So, yeah, the first one where I was in the big room was good. And then I went to the ones about data sync. And I didn't know if I was actually going to meet Matt from the day before at those or not. I couldn't remember. 2 glasses of wine. And so I was texting him on the conference app, which I'm like, I hate this conference app. Can you please text me? And I just was reading today that apparently it's, yeah, it's an old person thing to be like, can you text me at my actual phone number instead of asking people for their Snapchat ID or their Insta or whatever? And I'm like, okay. I felt I was young and hip by telling you to text me and, here's a phone number, but apparently that's not even the hip thing to do anymore. Anyway, whatever. I say hip. I don't care. I'm old. I like my old slang. I recycle slang. It's good stuff. All right. So yeah, I ended up encountering him at the first of the 2 data sync presentations that we went to, and that one was Princeton's. And Princeton is very good and has lots of people working at it, and I'm very impressed with what they were able to do. I did ask the dumbest question ever when you pause for intermission because it's this is the general publishing profile, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, some of us are still struggling with the out-of-the-box one for various reasons. But we'll get back to that fight in a week or so. So, yeah, they're very sophisticated. They have a good method. It sends back whether or not in a 9-1X field of whether or not it was successful. And then they can send it back and forth and talk about dates of merging and stuff. It's great. In my little army of 1 or 2 or 3, I don't think we're going to do that. I also had to punch him in the arm when the session was done because he made the mistake of sitting all the way in the inner wall. And yeah, I have ADHD and people kept asking questions. And unfortunately, I'm a rude little bugger. And I can't, draw down my phone battery because I need it. So I'm sitting here on my lovely conference notepad doing the bongos. I'm looking at him why did you make me sit in the corner? So I'm yeah, if you have a friend with ADHD, don't let them sit in the corner. It's pinned against an inside wall and unable to move. But anyway, Matt's great because he kept me honest because after that I'm I'm fidgety. So can I talk you into playing hooky until my afternoon moderating session? Because the one after this session is, just lunch and then plenary sessions, which apparently at ELUNA are all just vendor info updates. Sales. Anyway, so I'm we could be free until 4 p.m. And fortunately, Matt's in management and a competent adult now. Not the guy I used to know that couldn't make it literally 5 minutes up the road from his condo to where we worked on time. I, who ended up 80 miles away, my first year was given the 8 a.m. death shift to prove that I could make it there on time, because my boss at the time was sort of fed up with his antics. Like, he was 5 miles up the street and can't be on time. I bet you can't be on time coming that far. Yeah, well, I was most of the time. There's traffic. Anyway, so yeah, he made me accountability buddies. So we went to the other one on local holdings records and for non-serials, and I don't know if it's something even worth doing. I took notes, but I'm just kind of like, we don't have that much that are multi-volume, so I don't know. And I don't even know if he posted his slides. I made a request on the ELUNA conference web app site thing, and was like, can you post these? I would like to know. And I actually, because I'm old school and have pen and paper and don't sit around taking photos of every slide, so I just have like notes that are like, add slide on da-da-da-da, because I have like weird expectations that you can go in and add them later. I don't know. But yeah, I have to, in order to not digitally fidget and end up losing my concentration entirely. Yes, I am the person sitting in the rows with the pad and pencil and not much else. And also, wearing my lovely eye shades, although most of the time I just wore them when the presentations were on. Didn't wear them for mic running because I was very concerned that I was going to trip, because especially in the big room, there was like so many wires and AV things. I'm like, nope, not even going to risk this. It's not anywhere near the front. A lot of it's buried, but still, I'm like, with my luck, I'll trip and be a huge mess. So, and that went pretty okay. Like, maybe 1/20th of everyone was wearing masks, so nobody really bothered me about the eye thing. It was mostly just in my head. But yeah, sat through the Princeton, sat through the other data sync. Sorry, Georgia Tech. And yes, I'm reading a little off the teleprompter. And then went to lunch at the same place I went to lunch my first day, which required a lot of wandering through those stupid skyways again. But it wasn't as good as the first day, because of course I can't find the same pizza twice. And I realized it was because it was like after 1. And slices shops are not so good after 1, because everything's been sitting. So long walk, no good reason. And that's when I was like, come on, let's go look at the really awesome old court building in Minneapolis. And no, because I'm also like, we've got at least time if we skip the incredibly fun ELUNA session, which, both of us were kind of not going to go to anyway. It could go underground. I did take him through Acapella Tower because I thought that was kind of cool on our way back. And he was trying to save me some steps and spent like $1 to try to get me a day pass for the orange line, but he had such bad luck. Every time we'd like wait for one, we'd like literally just miss it. So I'm like, this ain't saving me any steps, just making me more frustrated chasing the bus. We got back, and yeah, I almost ended up eating and trying not to annoy him too much, and go back and forth with vendors, pick up swag, kill time. Because I'm just like, I don't have anything to do, and didn't have to open my PC the whole time I took it, which was fine. I was very happy about that. But yeah, got to watch him writing back and forth to like the staff he inherited, and trying to sort things out. Because I'm like, did the librarians report you over there? It's like, no. I get to manage the staff, and I didn't get to pick my staff, so it's been interesting. I'm like, okay. I can only imagine. I did get headhunted for a job that was managing the circulation department, so and I was like, it's fun, but I definitely need to be able to bounce myself back 10 years ago to have that kind of energy, especially for night shift. But I do miss night shift. I romanticize it way too much. Anyway, so after all that, I think we bid each other adieu, and I did the library discovery assistant session, which I was chock full of questions on, and probably too annoying. And ended up grabbing a bunch of stuff, and I'm gonna explain this lovingly to my coworkers at some point. Yeah, it's interesting. I loosely described it. I'm glad it's not coming out as quickly as I thought it was coming out. I'm glad it's opted out. But yeah, some of us are like, so it takes top 5 answers out of the article database, and then like writes a summary based on those, and then provides citations and like a resource list. So I don't know how that's gonna go, but I don't think it's gonna fly very well with a lot of us. So again, less AI, more product documentation and bug fixes. Anyway, yeah, my feet were hurting by that point. I went home, well, the apartment, and I had no problems crashing despite all of the EMTs running past the house or anything. I just I'd go back. They had like this horrible Chromecast. That only had like it supposedly had 40 channels, but a lot of them you couldn't get. And I ended up, for whatever reason, I kept trying to watch the only one that would show like talk shows, like old talk shows. But it turned out it took me 2 days to figure it out. Like it literally showed the same two shows back to back, the same classic Jerry Springer and like Maury episode. So I'd be like, this looks familiar, but I'm too tired to notice. And then it'd be like, no, no, this is literally the same two episodes back to back. Okay, that's freaking weird. And I think day two is the night I ended up watching X Files, which was fine. I haven't seen X Files in like 20 years. I'm like, oh, okay, let's watch X Files about biological engineering and cloning people and immortality. And actually, in X Files' defense, it's held up pretty good. So, and Star Trek, I remember watching at least one Deep Space Nine because I was like, ooh, Deep Space Nine. I think it was because I recognized the Ferengi, and I used to love the Ferengi when I was a kid. Don't ask me why. But yeah, I'm like, yay, let's watch this. And it's like the one where they're like a baseball team competing against like the Vulcan baseball team. It's very baseball focused, which is not my jam, but hey, whatever. Like I told myself, I wasn't there to watch the TV, but it was still kind of like, okay. And then I tried to hook it up because it gave you like Chromecast instructions, and for whatever reason, my phone was not casting to it, and I thought it would be the same living room TV. So I have no idea if I like magically started casting YouTube to like my TV back home. It's very weird. Anyway, so day three, I got out, I got my stuff together. The management company is actually pretty, no chores, so that's kind of nice. Had to leave a review eventually, but most of my review is just the floors are very gross, have to wear socks, someone who's barefoot, not so good. And that's pretty much it. Like everything else was good, so can't complain about that. Managed to get over there in time because I did have a nice 9 a.m. session that, again, I signed up to moderate. And that one, like, probably talked way too much again, but it was like traditional library material cataloging, how to make stuff discoverable, and I was just kind of surprised that, well, we have a very small collection. They were working on board games and video games, and we don't have video games. But I'm like, seriously, go look at our stuff. I teach this. I don't teach well, but I do teach this, and I've thought a lot about it, and there's a research article I've written about it, and yeah, a lot of thought. A lot of thought about how to catalog objects, and from someone who doesn't have, like, the museum studies method. Alright, and here's where it gets kind of fun. I think work will reimburse me. We'll find out. So I took a taxi from the hotel, the conference hotel, to the airport, and I get so flustered, like trying to catch planes. So I accidentally zero tipped in the first time, and I put in like the wrong email. I realized I put in like my middle initial, and I'm like, oh shit. So I got him to like bring the receipt back up, and I put in what I thought was my email, and then I didn't realize till I got way back and called like days later that what I had put in was like the email I had in my previous institution based on, certain first name, last name configurations, and my name at the current institution is exact opposite. So I'm like, okay, am I going to be able to get the $50 receipt back? Probably not. And I'm also at an additional $20 because I said I felt awful, because I've, worked those jobs. And I didn't want to zero tip him. So I'm like, all right, I'll give you some cash. And I open my cash and I have like 2 1s and a bunch of 20s. So I'm like, guess what? Lucky day. You get a 20 on a $50 drive, but pay it forward. It's fine. It's fine. It's just money. We're just kind of hilarious. And then again, I'm glad I left early and canceled moderating that other session because the Minneapolis airport is beautiful and big, although I am less than impressed by the Chick-fil-A. I ended up getting Chick-fil-A because we don't have a Chick-fil-A near us. Closest one is like an hour away, and I drive past it every time I drive down to go to one of my medical appointments, and then I never drive past it on the way back up when it's actually open, like not at 11 a.m. for Chick-fil-A. But yeah, whatever had been happening, the airport one, those waffle fries have clearly been sitting under the heat lamp for a while. So, a little disappointed. Chick-fil-A is usually delicious and awesome, but that one not so much. But I slowly, emphasis on slowly, made my big butt way across the Minneapolis airport. And as one would expect, which is why I didn't want to have to run, we were the very last gate on the Delta side. So it's like, okay, literally way out here. And another tiny plane. tiny airplane because they're like, no, you ain't bringing your carry-on. We are putting that in the hold. You're gonna have to hang out. Although it didn't take long once we, deboarded. So that wasn't a big deal. I just freaked out for saying like, can I keep my jacket? Like, what am I allowed to keep? I swear this was approved by the size. And they're like, it's fine. Okay. So I got all that together, managed to get out of the airport the other side and hook up with Dan. Yeah. Plane ride was fine. The only weird thing was like I spoke to the one person who was like sitting on the outer seat next to me and didn't speak back. So I'm like, okay. Don't know what's up with that. Don't know what's up with me getting accused of bringing a cat into work, although I now have my theories, thanks to additional drama this week, so that's fine. Whatever. They're probably my cats. I still have them up on Facebook if anyone wants the pretty cat, but nobody has spoken up, so. Anyway, that's ELUNA. Definitely gonna post this now because I'm hoping to get LibCAD Nomad++ up, and then I'll be able to do a demo of that for my coworkers and or you guys. I don't know. Anyway, have a good day. Thank you for keeping up with me.